Well, hey, everyone. Welcome to Fire Talk, where we give you the latest news updates on Southeastern University athletics. I'm Dr. Ken Ingle, president of Southeastern University. And, of course, joining me always is our amazing athletics director, Drew Watson. How have you been? You came fresh in from Philly, right?
Yeah.
You went to the big Dallas-Philly game on Sunday.
Dallas-Philly game is always the game of the year in Philly, and Philly sports fans were kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I assume you wanted the Eagles to win.
Yes. I could say a lot about the Cowboys, but it wouldn't be appropriate for this podcast.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
We'll talk later. We'll talk later.
But it's good to be back.
Yeah, and I think I was gone too. Was I gone? I don't know.
Yeah, you were in California.
I was in California. Yeah. I don't think I was even supposed to be here today, but I was able to get in last night, and so yeah.
Glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here too, especially with what we're going to be talking about here just in a few minutes.
Yeah. So can't believe we reached the end of another fall season. It's playoff time.
Yep.
And last week's show, you were on the road, but last week's show we talked to the Roberts brothers.
Right.
The soccer coaches talked about their playoff situation. But joining us today for another special playoff edition is our cross-country coach, Paul Kurtz, and David Milburn, who's a student athlete, graduate student, 4-year runner for the team. Welcome, gentlemen.
Yeah, it's great to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and it's great to see our teams competing in postseason so well. And of course, the cross-country team has created a culture that's doing just that. And let's start off talking about cultivating a winning culture, but even more an SCU culture. How do you go about doing that, Coach? Which, by the way, I think you should be the National Coach of the Year, because this is, you've won 3 conferences in the last 4 years, and this is the second one in a row.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
congratulations.
You definitely know how to create culture. So talk to us a little bit about that.
I think it's just getting the right people, first of all, and having the right people around to help foster that culture as well. And, I talked about the last time I was on the show is like I pray a lot about the student athletes that we get on our team. And I really feel like they are just really good about getting along with each other and wanting to be a good teammate, and they think of wonderful things to do outside of practice to keep everyone entertained. I don't feel like I have to do a lot of that kind of stuff because the kids on my team are just really good at thinking about those things. I don't know, David, you could probably talk even more about that, about the things that we do outside of practice. But yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing. And then just having a campus, too, that provides things for students to be involved in, different groups and things like that as well. I feel like that also keeps them excited about being on campus and being here at Southeastern. And that's it. Running is a hard sport, and you have to find things to make it fun. And the people around you are what make it fun. And I've been really blessed to have a great group of kids this year, especially, who really get along well with each other and make that happen.
Well, again, as Dr. Ingle said, your second consecutive conference championship on the men's side, impressive. What were some of the highlights of this year's meet?
Well, it was. I think probably the biggest highlight was John. I would say he just ran an amazing race. John Perez went into the race knowing that he was the favorite. He hadn't been beaten by anybody in our conference yet this year, and there was a guy from St. Thomas who's a very talented runner himself, and this is the first year he's run for St. Thomas, so they've never really competed against each other until this year, and. Their coach had some things to say about that he was going to go after John, and I think John had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder about that and wanted to show him who was boss.
It's always a motivating factor.
Yes.
And John just ran a really smart race and hung back and let the kid just run like crazy the first mile. I think he went through the mile at like 4:45.
Yeah, he
or
went out
something.
fast.
Yeah. And I think John knew that wasn't going to be sustainable and just picked him off by about 2 miles and just took off and ran a very, very even split race. He ran about 5:05 mile pace for the entire race.
Wow.
And ended up beating him by about 20 meters or so. And it was just a great win. And I think the only thing he was disappointed in was he ran so well and he felt so good. He probably could have broke 25 minutes this week. But not having anybody there to push him, I think that hurt him, and he really wants to break 25. Nationals will be hard to do that. It's a really tough course, and it's sloppy out in Oregon, so it's going to be interesting to see. It's actually Washington, I'm sorry. But it'll be a good race for him, and he'll be pushed, and the rest of the guys as well will be pushed there. So.
And John winning his 3rd conference title is obviously a huge accomplishment, but speak about his character and his development here at SCU, and then maybe tell us some of the other key runners.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really cool to see John progress, and the rest of the guys on the team for that matter. I think John's freshman year, we had a lot of different types of personalities on our team, and I wouldn't say it was probably one of our most cohesive teams. And it really was a challenge for me as a coach, and they heard a lot of different opinions about how they should be trained and that sort of thing. And I think it took John a while to kind of trust me as a coach and what I was giving him. And after that year, he's definitely bought in, and he's progressed very well. And we've seen time drop every year, and he's gotten farther and farther up in the national race as far as his placing. So it's just been really cool to see that happen. And now to see him as he's a grad student now because he's using this COVID year, as a leader on the team, just somebody who he meets with every one of the guys before the season really started and talks about their goals with them and takes on that leadership role in a whole different way than he did when he was a freshman, when he was kind of just a quiet guy who just said nothing. So that's been really cool. And then the rest of the guys too, David's another one. He can talk about himself here in a second, but David didn't run until his senior year in high school, and now he's my second, third fastest runner on the team. And again, progressed every year and gotten faster. And we have stories like that across the board, men and women, people who in high school were not necessarily the strongest runners, but have bought into what we do, and it's worked well for them, and they're getting faster, and they're doing well. So
that's great.
Well, you talked about culture. One of the cool parts of my job is that I get to see behind the curtain. And Friday night, you do a great job, Coach, of taking care of your team, feeding them. Got some good Italian food for the hotel. But afterwards, it's team tradition that the men's and women's teams get together after dinner and just kind of share about the seniors.
Oh, that's great.
And it's really cool to hear, just the praise and the love going around, the tears that are shed in the room, and that's reflective of a healthy culture. And and it's really cool for me to be part of that moment. So I appreciate you letting me into that very private team moment. So David, let's talk. Let's talk about you for a little bit.
All right.
Okay. You earned your undergraduate degree at SCU. Now you're working on your graduate degree. What did you get your undergrad degree in, and what are you working now towards your grad degree?
Yes. So I graduated with a degree in pastoral ministry. I graduated last April, and now I'm doing my master's in divinity right now.
Okay. That sounds it's not easy, right? I mean, they're pushing you pretty good.
Yeah, it's the first semester it's been good. Getting some momentum, getting used to the program, and maybe it'll progress and see how the classes go. But it's been going good so far.
Good.
Are you doing the accelerated program?
Yes.
Oh, that's
yes, sir.
great. Yeah, I think that's an amazing program. So you've spent a few years here at SCU. What would you say has been the most impactful way that God has used your time here to really develop you into the person you are today?
I think for me, it's just been like a lot of spiritual growth for me, because the amount of people that I've been surrounded with, the community, and the people, especially on my team and outside of the team, have helped me grow in a lot of ways in my maturity with the team and also with this whole community as a whole. And after being here for so long, it's been amazing to see like the spiritual impact in other people's lives. So for me, I think it's the way that the Lord has really used it has been like for me in my spiritual growth, and also not just athletically, but really like seeing God and like through other people and seeing the image that they bear for Him. And so that's really what I think that the Lord has used in my time here. So
that's incredible, and it's really, I think it's somewhat unique, unfortunately, that people are looking outwards and not inwards. And so that's awesome. Okay. We like to ask this question of alumni athletes and athletes who have been here a long time. You happen to be both alumni and here a long time. Okay. So if you could speak to your 18-year-old self, what is the biggest piece of advice that you would give your 18-year-old self?
Stay humble. Don't take people under your wing, take people and look at them as they are, as who's God created them. Because a lot of times in sports and athletics, we see a whole bunch of me-centered stuff and a lot of things that we walk into, or you might feel like the big dog on campus, but really there's other people around you that you could also be helping nurture. And so for me, that's what's really been, I would tell my 18-year-old self is stay humble, but also stay hungry for God, stay hungry in that aspect, and continue to walk in the disciplines that you are going to be developing. So
how old are you now?
23.
Okay, so your 18-year-old self was 5 years ago. So the goal is, if you continue on the path that your 28-year-old self would look back at your 23-year-old at today and go, man, I was so immature. Because you're continuing to mature.
Yes.
And you're continuing to grow in the Lord and develop your relationship with Him. And that's the cool part about life. Dr. Ingle and I, when we were your age, we probably thought, when I'm 45, I'll have it all down. All right. but
You thought that way?
No, but what happens is when at each, I like to use 5-year intervals. But at each 5-year interval, you look back 5 years and go, man, I had so much to learn.
Yes.
And I look back at my 18-year-old self, and I had a lot to learn. But I look back, I'm 53, so I look back at 48, and I'm like, yeah, I still had a lot to learn, And so it's important to stay focused on growth and other people in your life, and not just say, oh, I've arrived, and just start to coast.
Yeah, that's an important thing for me especially, because I know freshman year, Coach knows, like, I wasn't the best student athlete. I was just an athlete, but I was struggling with my grades. I wasn't focused, and I think after that year, like, a switch kind of flipped, and I was like this is something that's important. I may not have running forever, but I will have, like, also my education and the Lord. I'll have those two things. The running may not last forever, but I'll have those two things.
Yeah. No, that's so good. Great to see how you've grown and developed, and especially your spiritual formation is amazing. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. Getting back to the team, you all earned an automatic bid to the NAIA National Championship. That's going to be on November 17th in Fort Vancouver, Washington. I'm very familiar with that place. It's going to be cold, maybe a little rainy.
It's like 55 and rain.
Yeah, so you're going to have to do some adjustment from Florida weather.
Yeah, a little bit.
So what do these next couple of weeks look like for the team?
I think right now for the team right now, I think right now the Sun Conference thing for me was the most, I would say stressful thing, but also the one thing that, we needed to get that win, like, so much, like, 'cause we wanted that win. And we got it. And once we got it, we're like, okay, now we can just focus on nationals and getting to that point and see what we can do, because we still have work to do. Like, we got training and then leading up to nationals next week. But I think the team is very excited to go up there, and we're very excited to show what we can do and just be confident in what we've been training for all season.
That's great.
Now, let's turn to the women. They finished third with a team best finish from Grace Fetter, placing sixth. This punches her individual ticket to nationals. Talk a little bit about Grace.
Grace has had the comeback story of the century, I'd say. Grace came in as a freshman and had a lot of injury problems, and just struggled to be able to run on a consistent basis, and it just continued on into her sophomore year, and we were just trying to figure out what can we do to make this girl healthy enough to run and be competitive, because she was a very strong runner in high school and had injuries there too, but just the running that she was doing in college was just too much for her. And so we've gotten to the point where we've kind of figured that out, and she now is kind of on a run one day, cross-train one day type routine, and that's kept her healthy all season, and she's just really done really well with that, and running very strong. It always makes me think, what could she have done if she's running every day? But she's running well enough that she's our number one girl, and she qualified for nationals as an individual, and she was the top runner outside of SCAD to make it. So definitely one of the top runners in our conference, and I'm just really proud of her. She's shed a lot of tears in the last couple of years to get to where she is, and to see her finally get to this point and see the hard work come through and get her to that point to nationals is just really exciting for her and for me. And the team, it's been a hard year for us. It was a lot of sickness on our women's team this year. We just had people getting sick, and then they would get sick again 2 or 3 weeks later. And it hit us again this last couple weeks with a few girls that were really key players on our team. And it was a struggle for them, I'm not going to lie, for us to go there and run our best. But they did really well, and I was really proud of them for running as well as they did, considering the things that they had to deal with during that time. So,
What other runners had an impact with the women's team?
Jillian Blazer was also one of our better runners. Sarah Hendrick. I'm trying to think.
Sophie, Kathy.
Kathy, Sophie. They're all very tight group. So. you know, we didn't have a superstar this year. Julia graduated, and she was like our girl that was really far out in the front. The rest of them were all within like a minute of each other. So definitely a closer group this year. It was just tough this year, just mostly because they were so inconsistent with racing and being sick. And one week they'd run really well, run 19:30s or 40s, and the next week they run 21:30s because they were sick. So, yeah.
Well, as we mentioned, you're in Fort Vancouver, Washington. It's quite a trip, but you know the team's been there before. So I'm sure that's an advantage for you. You're not walking in that blind. But as you prepare for this course in particular, what are the things that you're going to be looking out for?
Well, I think one of the hardest things about going to nationals is the NAI hosts the biggest national meet for cross country. There's 35 teams that make it, plus 4 individuals from each conference. So there's over 350 people in the race, and it's just insane.
Yeah.
When you race with that many people, it's just really, really hard to maneuver through that. So I think them just thinking about like, how am I going to run my race and get through that kind of crowd and do the best that I can with the talent that I have. And that's something you can't really coach that. You just have to talk about it and make sure that they're thinking about it, and while they're in the race that they're looking for opportunities to move up, that they're not being stupid and going out too fast, but they're also not being slow and going out too slow. So so that's one of the biggest things that I think that our team this year needs to focus on, because we have a lot of talent and we have definitely an opportunity to run better than what we have in past years. This is by far the best team I've ever coached here at Southeastern. We ran our fastest team time this last weekend at conference, so that was exciting for me. And I just want to see them go out there and do the best they can in a big race like this. And it is tough. So John needs to get out with the top 50 guys in the first part of the race and not be afraid to go with those guys that are going to be All-Americans. And hopefully he'll be right there with them at the end too.
Yeah. That's good. As a coach, again, the men won the championship and the women finished third. You have one team celebrating the big win. And as a coach, how do you manage the divergent finishes within yourself and the team? How do you, from a mental standpoint of encouragement and so forth, how do you?
That's the hardest part. It is really hard because we've only done it once where we've won the men and the women together, and that was the COVID year, and it was kind of a little skewed because some of the teams weren't in it. So, and it is like there's the women wanted to win just as bad as the guys did. Now, the thing about our sport is you can kind of go into it knowing where you should finish, and I knew it was going to be really pretty tough to win this year for the women, but I felt like second place was definitely something they should have been able to do, and we didn't even get that due to the circumstances we were under. But I just, as a coach, I try to just be excited for the ones that won and try to pick up the pieces for the ones that didn't, and try to point out the things like the goals that we accomplished during the season. It's not just necessarily about one race. And if our goal was to do something at that conference meet and we did it, then we can celebrate that too. So a lot of the girls did run really well. Grace having the race that she did, we can celebrate that as a team because we all push her, all the other girls on the team push her to do the best that she can. And I think the girls and the guys also see themselves as a team as a whole too. So the girls can celebrate for the guys, even though they aren't on the guys' team. They're just as excited for them as the guys would be if the girls won.
Well, and that was what was cool about where I was standing when the guys were coming in, and you ran over and said we did it. I mean, the women celebrated like it was their win.
Yeah.
And that was really cool to watch them because they were over kind of in your camp and, kind of milling around there, getting ready for their race. And all of a sudden they come running with smiles on their faces, jumping up and down. And, I'm sure that makes it easier when they're celebrating with the men.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a unique sport where we do get to practice together and do a lot of things together, and they're really together all the time when it's anything to do with our sport. So it is like one team, and you can definitely celebrate the wins even if you're not necessarily the same sport.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. Well, David and Coach, thank you for joining us today, man. What an awesome privilege to have this conversation and just get more perspective of the team and the efforts and all that you're doing for preparation. Again, congratulations on the big championship, and then good luck in Washington.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, privilege.
Yep.
Regal Automotive Group, your source for all things automotive in the Lakeland area and Winter Haven area, a full-service dealer group offering a vast range of quality auto brands and backed by stellar customer service, specializing in Chevrolet, GMC, Kia, Honda, and Acura, and Regal Acura and Regal Automotive is a proud partner of Fire Athletics. Let Regal Automotive be your first choice when shopping for a brand new car, SUV, or pickup truck. Know you'll be pleased with their customer service.
Yeah, the Campeses are great supporters of Fire Athletics. We really appreciate them.
Yeah, very much so. Well, let's jump right into our other sports, volleyball. The Fire take on Kaiser in Friday's Sun Conference Tournament semifinal after finishing the regular season with an amazing record, 21-4. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, we closed out the regular season last week, 3-1 win over Ave Maria on the road. We had some sickness in the roster that night, so it was a big win. Then swept Florida Memorial on Senior Day this past Saturday. Grace Petty was the Sun Conference Attacker of the Week. She had 19 kills against Ave Maria, 14 more against Florida Memorial. So really, really excited about what they've been able to do this season at 21-4.
Yeah. Now, I love this statistic. We are 2-0 against Kaiser this season. So if we win on Friday, which we will. I mean, if we're already 2-0, we're going to pick up that third win.
Speak it.
So what's next?
Well, if we win on Friday in the semifinal, we will move to the championship, and it would be our second consecutive Sun Conference Championship match appearance. We would most likely face number 22 St. Thomas. We've played them twice this year. The first time here, it was a pretty good match. Lost 3-1. Down there, a couple weeks ago, didn't play so well, not as well as we had played at home. So I'm sure the ladies are looking forward to potentially seeing the Bobcats again and giving them a run in their own place.
Yeah, no, that'd be wonderful. And of course, this is Coach's final year, so that's got to be a little emotional as you kind of head to the finish line.
Yeah, I've seen her. She's kind of been the ups and downs this year emotionally because a couple weeks ago, some of the parents brought some things to celebrate her. The kids gave her, some pictures and some signed things and flowers, and she's just trying to keep it together there because she's done such a good job here, and I think her number one quality is that she invests so at such a deep level in her kids.
She really does, and I've been so grateful for her. She's been an amazing coach, and we're definitely going to miss her.
Yeah, we wish her the best.
All right, let's talk about men's soccer. Men's soccer beat Weber in the Sun semifinal on Saturday, but then they lost to Kaiser. That team yesterday in overtime, 3-2. What's this mean for the team now?
Well, that game was a heartbreaker.
Yeah, I know it was.
We were up 2-1, and gave up the tying goal with 15 seconds left.
Yeah, that's tough.
And so on your way basically to see St. Thomas on Friday, and you hit a roadblock. So, talking to Coach, he was disheartened by the result. Obviously for his guys and him.
Right.
But they still do have a shot at large bid in the NAI National Tournament. A few things have to happen here for them to get that. The first thing was that Florida Memorial could not win the Sun Conference Championship and get the AQ, which they did not. St. Thomas beat them yesterday 2-1.
Okay.
And so we're hoping, that this team's had a very good year.
Yeah, excellent year.
They've suffered from some injuries down the stretch here, and cost them some games, but. They've fought, they've battled. It's a very cohesive group, as we talked with Coach Roberts about it last week. And you really want them to have a chance to appear in this tournament because I think they're going to be overlooked.
Right.
As an at-large third team from the Sun Conference, I just don't think they're going to be taken seriously, which would be a mistake. And so I would love to see them get that opportunity.
That's good. Let's talk about the ladies. The women's soccer team entered the Sun tournament as the number 2 seed, which earned them a bye in the first round.
Yep.
They hosted St. Thomas last night in the semifinal, came out with a big win, 3-2. That's exciting.
Huge win. And this is a team. St. Thomas came in here a few weeks ago, tied us, and it was a very good St. Thomas team. And so we had to bring our best. Soccer, sometimes you sit around for 90 minutes, you don't see a goal.
Yeah.
In this match last night, we saw 3 goals in the first 7 minutes. And so we got on the board first. Katie Carnes got the scoring quickly, getting 3 minutes in. She got us on the board. But SDU scored the next 2 goals quickly to take a 2-1 lead, and then it stayed 2-1 until Naira Lopez had a PK that she drilled home to go up to tie the game at 2. And then with just 15:45 left, Naira scored another off a great pass from Madeline Davidson to put the Fire on top. We held on, and we're headed to SCAD on Friday. I think we've got a clip of this goal.
Yeah,
this
we'd love to see it.
Was a really sweet goal. We had missed some chances up to this point, but play develops in the midfield, and you'll see this team is gutty, and they pass very well. So you see that one into the middle, and then Madeline takes this and just hits Naira with a great center pass there, and she drills it home. So 15:40 left there, huge goal late in the game.
But you're right, great passing makes all the difference.
Yeah, and Michaela Owen had another great night in goal. They gave up 2 back-to-back there early in the first half, but she really buckled down and had a great rest of the match.
Okay, so now what's next again?
So Sun Conference Championship.
Okay, that's Friday
at SCAD this Friday, 1:00 up in Savannah.
Okay, all right. We wish them well on
Absolutely.
that. Let's talk about golf. The men's team traveled to Georgia for their final fall tournament. How'd that go?
Played a tough course, Barnsley Gardens. Scores were a little higher than you might expect from collegiate golfers across the board, not just with us. But the team finished 4th. Matthew Soshanek tied for 2nd after leading the field with 35 pars.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
so it's good to see them. It's good to see the men competing because they, as we've talked about last few weeks, they've really picked it up here. Looking forward to the spring.
All right, let's talk about wrestling. It's the wrestling season now, and I know the team started its season in Kentucky.
Yep.
A great successful trip for the Fire with 10 wrestlers earning top 5 placements in the season opening Patriot Open in Kentucky.
Yeah, they are a young team this year, and so I know Coach Travis he's talking to me before the season. He goes, I don't know that we should be ranked 3rd right now. I'd like to be ranked a little less. Puts less pressure on the guys, but guess what? Rankings came out, we're 3rd.
Yep.
And so he's obviously not going to complain about that. But he was very happy. We had 1 champion, 2 runner-ups, and 7 placers. And so he really felt like the guys stepped up. The champs were Sal Silva, Andreas Bond, guys who have been here a while. Yeah. And so with a young team, they're just going to have to keep grinding, kind of teaching the guys what collegiate wrestling is all about. But looks good at this point.
Yeah. No, I had the chance to go watch the Red-Black match a couple weeks ago. They look amazing. Great depth. I think it's just going to be I'm looking forward to this season. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so they'll play St. Thomas tomorrow night.
All right.
And then they'll head to Emmanuel.
Is that here?
That is at St. Thomas.
At St. Thomas.
And then Emmanuel College Sunday for the Georgia Open.
Okay. All right. Great. Good. Let's move to football. It looks like another tough loss this past weekend for football, coming up short of an upset against number 17 St. Thomas. They dropped the game 33-21. It seems like they're in the game, and it's just it's kind of tough.
So St. Thomas is a senior-laden team. They started the program 4 years ago. A lot of those guys are still there, and they're now seniors, and they're tough. Ranked 17th, as you said. And, we come into the game 4-4 and, had a couple, we lost to Kaiser, lost to Florida Memorial in a tight game, and so you wonder how that game's going to go. Well, we came out, we answered the bell, went up 14-0.
Yeah.
And so it was really encouraging. We had a strong start, but then the second quarter really was our downfall. Second quarter, St. Thomas scored a long touchdown, got a couple others. But we didn't give up. I mean, we had possession with the ball with a chance to take the lead, and just couldn't get it done. They scored a late touchdown and put it away. So,
I know. I mean, it makes it hard when they do come out so strong and can't pull it out. But it is positive that our guys went out there and competed hard and really they always give it their best. So, I love the effort.
Yeah, you look at the numbers. We held the number 4 scoring offense in the NAI to just 11 points below their season average. Yeah. And the number 2 rusher in the whole NAI, he's averaging nearly 100 yards. He's actually averaging 40 yards a game. Wow. He had just 39 yards from scrimmage. So, defense is doing a great job. We just are just this close. Yeah. And we're 4-5 now, and you can look back. You can probably pick out 5 or 6 possessions over the course of the whole year, and we could be 8-1.
Right.
7-2.
I know.
So,
it's been some Some tough losses.
Yep.
So what's next for Fire football?
Last game of the year on Saturday night against Ave Maria. We have senior night. It's also our Veterans Day game, so we'll be honoring veterans during the game. So we take on Ave Maria, 7 p.m. start. If you want to see the senior day festivities, show up at 6:30. We'll get that going, and looking forward to a great season closing game.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. So come on out for that game again. That's Saturday night on our home field at 7 p.m. Men's basketball is just getting started. Let's talk about them. They opened their season with a bang, defeating a top 25 team in their first game, beating Mobile 78-75.
Yeah, they really. I mean, Mobile's ranked 22nd. And so we came out and kind of ambushed them. I mean, we were up by 16 in that game, and they found their footing at halftime, and really they closed it to 1 with under a minute to go, and our guys held on. It was a really really tough finish. We looked them in the eye and said, no, not tonight. And by the way, Mobile won at Division I South Alabama last night. And so obviously they're pretty tough this year. So that's a big first game win for the Fire.
What were some of the highlights for it?
Well, Josh Blasquez, who changed numbers, by the way. I'm going to have to ask him about that. He was number 0. 0's not a number, but you know what I mean. He's 0 last year. He's number 3 this year. So we'll have to figure out what went on there. He had 18 points, along with transfer Makai Bassel. He had 18 as well. Anthony Duncan, big guy inside, had 14 points, 8 rebounds.
That's impressive. What happened against Faulkner? I actually was at that game.
You were.
They played a great first half, kept it tight.
Yep.
And then it just changed from the second half.
We did start off strong. Second half was the difference, as you say. We Eagles outscored us 44-26.
Yeah, no, I know.
They shot 63% from the field. It is painful. The irony here is the night before we beat Mobile, St. Thomas beats Faulkner in overtime. The next day, Mobile smacks STU, and Faulkner gets us. It's just basketball is a weird game.
No, I know. I mean, I'll tell you, there are many times I want to be an assistant coach and join the huddle and say, you can do this, and
let's go.
And make it happen. And they did. I mean, they did the night before against Mobile, so sometimes it just happens.
Well, maybe we could harken back to last year. Maybe you should have left at halftime.
Okay, you're right. You're right.
When if you leave at halftime, we're down. But this was the other way around.
It was the other way around.
So we were winning.
We were winning.
Maybe you should just go for a hot dog and see how it's going, and maybe step in or out after that.
If that helps. But it's going to be a great season. What's next for them?
Tonight we host Johnson University at the Furnace, 7 p.m. Then they travel to Georgia to play Life and Point.
Okay. I'm going to try to get out for that tonight if I can. So, it'd be fun to watch. So it sounds like a great, busy week. And so how do these teams really look?
Well, Johnson's been struggling. They're 0-2 in the year. But this trip this weekend's a big one for the team. Life is receiving votes in the national polls.
Okay.
They're 3-0, and Point's 3-1. So it should be a good early season test for us.
Yeah, let's talk about the ladies. We went 2-1 on the week, defeating Faulkner University 70-64 on Friday. They dropped one to number 14 Loyola 55-53 in a nail biter. That actually came down to the last second, and then they defeated Thomas on Monday 63-51 on the road.
Yeah, busy start to the season. Good to see the women's team competing with some top-ranked opponents.
Yeah, no, it's great.
So here's the thing. Going up to get to Faulkner, getting a win on their court, tough place to play, was great. Anaya Coleman led the game with 14 points.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. How talk a little bit about that Loyola game.
Okay, and a 9-1 run to start the third quarter pushed Loyola up 48-35 with 6:55 to play. So we're down 13 in the fourth quarter. We answer with a 10-0 run to get within a possession with 3:50 left. Pair of free throws by Becky Kalaidiev. And by the way, Becky, and you know this, but Becky, I'm going to remind you, Becky was in a near fatal car accident.
Oh, wow.
2 years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
And, shattered her kneecap. And, I think it was in 12 pieces. And to see her practicing and playing right now, it's a miracle. We praise God for that.
Yeah.
But the Fire back, I mean, you're talking to, you said, the 14th ranked team in the country, up big in the fourth quarter, and a team that's just been put together. I mean, we've got a team of good transfers, returners, freshmen who are just kind of getting to know each other, but they put on a run in the fourth quarter and battle to the end. So, you got to give them a lot of credit.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Glad to see him pick up another win over Thomas on Monday.
Yep. Well, it is always good to get momentum back after a loss. And Thomas is a tough place to play. It's a really small gym. They pack it out. They're very very enthusiastic. So they get a little break here. Then we have our home opener Saturday 2 p.m. Because it was going to be a busy day on Saturday. We got New College of Florida coming in here. A new Sun Conference school as of next year.
Yeah, brand new.
So they're coming in here 2 p.m. for a game against Our Ladies.
Yeah, no, that's good. Well, that's a wrap for today. I want to thank everybody for joining us. As we close, remind you to come out to our home games again this week. Men's basketball versus Johnson tonight at 7 p.m. and women's basketball Saturday at 2 p.m. versus New College. And then, of course, our final home football game against Ave Maria. That's Saturday at 7 p.m., senior night.
And make sure you visit SUFire.com for the latest news in fire athletics. You can find the event calendar there as well as a link to watch all of our home games.
Yeah.
We wish good luck to all of our teams this week. Go get them.
All right. Thank you, everyone, and take care. Go Fire.